What's up, y'all? This is John and Caleb back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. And we are going over the best games of week 5. I forgot to plug my microphone in here, so give me just a second. Going over the best games while I'm sitting in my car in a McDonald's parking lot.
Yeah, let's talk about
Because,
that.
yeah, so if you have Verizon, I don't hate you. I just hate Verizon. Every few weeks, the Verizon contractors, they cut the fiber lines on the island I live on, right? And
Mm.
so the problem is it takes all day, if not 2 days, to fix it. So I don't have internet until it gets fixed. And I am, like I said, currently sitting in the McDonald's parking lot because they were the closest place to my house with Wi-Fi. So,
Well,
but
you look and sound great for being in a McDonald's parking lot right now.
yeah, no, my head didn't get bigger. The camera is just a foot and a half closer than it normally is, and I'm holding the microphone instead of it being down here in a stand. So if I'm louder, sue me. I'm trying to get some content out because it's Bama week, and I'm not about to miss this episode.
Absolutely not. Last year we lost the post game episode because of a hurricane.
Yep, no
Because
power,
our
no
internet
internet.
was all out. So hopefully you get yours back in time for a post game one, and hopefully it's a positive one.
Yes. But how have you been? I've already kind of complained a little bit for me.
Yeah. I'm good. This week just feels so slow,
Yep.
and I don't know if it's just the anticipation for this game or if it's just a weird week. Maybe, again, last year's shenanigans made me feel like I should just be expecting the worst this week. Apparently, I should have been expecting the rapture, which never came.
So you shouldn't have been
Um,
expecting it.
yeah, yeah. Fair enough. I'm currently drinking a Mike's Hard Lemonade. I haven't had one in years, but I love them to death. It's a Mike's Hard Strawberry Lemonade. And so this has taken me back with a lot of nostalgia, and I am gonna thoroughly enjoy one tonight, and thoroughly enjoy one during the game on Saturday, and thoroughly enjoy one when we come back here on Sunday.
Um, I'm drinking a Diet Coke because I am sitting in the driver's seat of the car, and
Yeah,
DUIs are bad and wrong and hurt people. So
indeed, indeed.
I can't have had that rant a while back on yelling at players and coaches for
Yeah, you
drinking and
can't
driving and doing it
you
myself.
you can't host a Georgia podcast and then get a DUI immediately after you finish recording it. I feel like that would just the Alabama fans in the comments would just lose their minds.
Yeah, I mean, this week the comments, I guess that means that we're getting a larger presence on Instagram with the amount of just idiotic comments from other fan bases that we get.
Yeah. The Tennessee fan ones kill me because it's absolutely pathetic to brag about almost beating somebody.
And like, I never thought the week of the Alabama game I would be telling Tennessee fans that it's not like that the loss was not that bad.
Yeah.
Eh, But, if they want to blame it all on Josh Heupel and not the fact that they, gave up 21-7 comeback, or
But
the fact that their offense didn't score points for the middle two quarters of that game, or that they didn't gain a yard or prevent a yard from being gained in overtime, or the guy that got the false start, or allowing a 28-yard touchdown on 4th and 6 late in the game. Like, none of
mm-hmm.
those mattered according to this
Nope.
guy. Josh Heupel calling a timeout right before his kicker kicked the field goal is
Forget the fact that Kirby had already called like three full non 30-second timeouts before then to get in the kicker's head.
uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
It's just yeah. Well,
whatever.
look, if they want to fire Josh Heupel, I don't think there is a single coach that would be out in the market that would realistically choose Tennessee that I wouldn't rather have than Josh Heupel at Tennessee. So go ahead.
Correct. Yeah, like, here's the thing. Josh Heupel can be scary.
Yeah.
Whoever you get next, because every time you get a new coach, you go a few more names down your list.
Yeah, the Dabo might be available.
He does love orange. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. And Mike did want to make a note on the intro. This is episode 269,
Nice.
and yeah, kind of wild to think that we've been doing it for that long, but here we are. Oh, speaking of here we are, I misspoke yesterday. I said Ole Miss at LSU. Ole Miss were road favorites. It is the other way around. LSU at Ole Miss. Ole Miss are 1.5 point home favorites. Over under 55. And so, as shocked as I was with how LSU's defense looked against Clemson and Florida, both of these teams looked completely incompetent as football teams.
Especially on offense.
Right. And so, at this point, I'm really not sure if LSU is good. They have all the pieces to be good, both offensively and defensively. But what have we seen from them to show that they are actually good? That they put those pieces together? Because was struggling to move the ball against Clemson more than any other Core Four team has this year. Was that
Yeah,
good?
that I wouldn't say it is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What about giving up 366 yards to Florida?
Oh man, and the worst part of that is there were 5 turnover drives,
Mm-hmm.
that were ended early, and they still got 366 yards.
Mm-hmm. No, 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 no. The reason that they're good is the blowout of Southeast Louisiana, which they still struggled to run the ball because they only got 136
Mm.
yards on the ground.
Yeah, that thinking about it, that doesn't look too great either.
Yeah. So like LSU, the only game that LSU scored more than 30 points in this year was Southeast Louisiana, where they had to pass the ball for most of their yards because they got 136 rushing.
Hmm.
So with this one, we've seen Ole Miss overcome deficits against SEC competition, Arkansas, Kentucky. For what those teams are, they always play Ole Miss tight.
Yep.
We've seen the new quarterback, Trinidad Chambliss, look like a top three quarterback in the SEC already. LSU, the problem is LSU is currently a Lego set that's been dumped out of the box, right? We see the pictures, we see the instructions, but we have a pile of Legos in the floor that we know can be something, but it's not quite there
Unfortunately,
yet.
we're trusting Brian Kelly to build it.
Right. Brian Kelly is not known for building Death Stars. Fun fact. And I really think Ole Miss wins this game just because they've shown that they are a good team this year. They're not a complete team. At their best, are they better than LSU at LSU's best? No. The problem is we've seen Ole Miss close to their best, and I don't think we've seen LSU half as good as they can be.
No,
So I'm gonna
and I
take
don't I don't know that they're going to get that in Oxford.
right. I'm gonna take the team that we have seen play well on both sides of the ball this year.
Yeah. And just on top of that, too, as a dad myself, if I have the opportunity to get one over on my daughter's new boyfriend, I'm going to make absolutely sure I take advantage of that opportunity. Lane's daughter, Landry, of course, going out with what's his name? Whit Weeks. Is that
Yeah, a
his
guy that
name?
grew up in Athens and chose to go to LSU.
Yeah. So obviously not an NFL caliber defensive player, or he would be in Athens right now. Um,
Fair.
yeah. So I combine that though with the fact that this game is in Oxford, and like we've been saying, LSU just doesn't look that good this year. And I'm going to keep believing they're not good this year till they prove me wrong. I've got Ole Miss in this one as well. If they put Trinidad Chambliss in at quarterback, I do think they win this game, but I do reserve the right to change my pick if Austin Simmons trots out there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I will say that based on everything I've seen, Trinidad is starting, and I don't know if I said this on this, and it's 100% something I stole from Will from the SDS podcast, but he said, "Hotty toddy, I'm sweating" for Trinidad Chambliss, and that's the most millennial phrase that you can say for
Love it.
for this football team, and I love it.
All right.
So Mike's
Go on
notes,
ahead.
yeah, he said he's not sold on either of these teams as well. Like us, I'm not. He said he's not sure how good LSU actually is, but they have been slightly more impressive in his opinion than Ole Miss. He said he can't believe it, but he's going with Brian Kelly to win a big game, especially as a slight underdog. Garrett Nussmeier is finally able to bust a us all over Ole Miss.
Yeah. In fairness to Mike here with his pick, like LSU has proven they can go on the road and win. That win is certainly a lot less impressive now that Syracuse has done it too. But still,
Yep, and Syracuse scored more points.
yep. We don't have to get into all that though. I'm trying to defend Mike, but yeah, I don't agree with him. I think Ole Miss gets it done, but neither result in this game would surprise me because you can't
No,
underestimate any of these teams' ability to just mess the game up.
and not only that, with how little we know about these teams, I don't know if we can estimate.
Did we lose you?
Oh, you there? Can you hear me? I'm registering. Oh, you're frozen. All right, we are back. I don't even remember what we were in the middle of talking about. I think we were about to move on to Auburn and A&M.
Yeah, we were. But just a side note, I do want to point out the fact that new Alabama head coach Yankee Magoo wanted to silence this podcast, but we did not let him do that.
Yes, those Yankee powers of just turning off the McDonald's Wi-Fi at the one that I'm sitting at.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
that's how
he
it
also
works.
cut the fiber lines, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy for sure.
All right, so Auburn at A&M. A&M 6.5 point home favorite, over under 53. And here's the thing: I would love to see Auburn win this one. Come out, win a road game, top 10, because that would make Georgia's trip to Auburn more important, more impressive, a ranked game.
True.
But the problem is I think this game comes down to the offensive line, Auburn offensive line against the A&M defensive front. That same Auburn offensive line, they gave up 23 total tackles behind the line of scrimmage between sacks and tackles for loss a week ago. Uh, in other news, Auburn, one thing they can do if they can protect Jackson Arnold
Big if.
is, you know, is get yards. The A&M defense is not great, giving up an average 350 yards per game, including games against Utah State and UTSA.
Ouch.
Right. The bad news for Auburn is that they're going to have to score to keep up with A&M because A&M is scoring 42.3 points per game. I do think this one is a shootout that just gets away from Auburn because they cannot protect Jackson Arnold quite long enough to take the shots late in this game that they're going to need to win. So I have the over demolishing at 42-30 A&M.
Mm. I did peek at the over in this one. It's not on my best bets, but I did peek at it. Yeah, I think this game's going to come down to how high is Texas A&M on themselves and how good is Auburn at getting off the mat. Because Jackson Arnold got absolutely thrown around like a rag doll in his former home stadium last week. So how well can he bounce back? Well, last season he was absolutely terrible in a loss against Missouri, averaging 3 yards per attempt, and the longest pass play in that whole game was thrown by the punter.
He
And then
was
he came
actually just terrible last year, regardless of
that
the
well that
situation.
well that's true, but I'm bringing up this specific game because the week after this game they came back home and beat up on Alabama. So he has shown some comeback ability before, but when you give up 10 sacks, I cannot trust your offensive line to hold up long enough for you to score enough points to keep up with A&M. So we have kind of the same idea where A&M's just going to score too much and Auburn can't quite keep up with it. I do think A&M is a bit of fool's gold. I expect them to win this game, but I don't expect them to cover the 6.5.
That would not shock me in any way, shape, or form. Mike said, because he didn't put any notes in on this one. So the one that I don't think any of us really needed to put notes in for And that
Yeah, I
is
think we're all gonna say the same thing.
Oregon at Penn State. And Penn State, 3.5 point home favorite, which means it is a pick 'em on a neutral site. How, why, where, who,
Yeah,
I
that
don't
come on, Vegas.
know. Well, Vegas, the lines are a reflection of public interest. And the
Right.
public, for whatever reason, thinks that Penn State is
Is
better.
high on Penn State.
I think they're just high. But the over under is 52. And I think this one really comes down to the Penn State defense's ability to turn this one into a snoozer because Penn State, their offense has not done anything impressive at all throughout the entire year. So they've played nobody. Legitimately, they have played three absolute nobodies. And this isn't meant to be disrespectful. They played the Nevada Wolfpack, Florida International, and Villanova. Each of those, they
Since
were
we're asking about Villanova, this isn't a basketball podcast, right?
no, absolutely not. That is FCS Villanova
Okay.
in this sense. Yeah.
Okay, so we're still talking football. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So they were. Penn State was favored by at least 40 points in each of these games, and Penn State did not come close to covering in any of these games. Drew Aller has 4 touchdowns on the season through 3 games, 3 games in which they've played nobodies, right?
Yeah.
4 touchdowns, 3 games. That's not that bad. That's the same number of touchdowns as Austin Simmons, who has been out for 2 games and lost his job. That's the same number of
Oh, that makes it
touchdown
pretty bad.
passes as Trinidad Chambliss, who took Austin Simmons' job in the last two
Oh.
games. That's the same number as Lenore Sellers, who has missed a game and doesn't have anybody to catch passes from him. And that is 1 touchdown pass more than Nico Iamaleava over at UCLA.
Something tells me that part was in there just to talk more trash about Nico Iama leaving Tennessee than Drew Aller.
A little bit of both, because Nico is 3
Yeah.
touchdowns, 3 picks on the season. I wasn't going to bring that up unless you asked. So Drew Aller, when it comes to quarterback rating, there are 100 qualified quarterbacks in college football this year. Where do you think Drew Aller ranks? You can see it,
Based on
but
what people keep telling me about Drew Aller, yeah, based on what people keep telling me about Drew Aller, I would assume he's somewhere at least he's got to be top 30, surely.
he's 76.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
bad.
100 qualified quarterbacks, he is 76th. I will say that is notably 48 spots behind Bo Perbula,
That's hilarious.
who was his backup last year. And Penn State said, no, Drew is better than you. It's okay if you leave us in the middle of a playoff run. Mind you, a playoff run that was ended because of Drew throwing an interception.
Yeah.
The issue here is there's actually absolutely nothing special about this Penn State team. And we got a lot of hate with our very first ranking that we put out, the preseason ranking, because of how low Penn State was.
Probably
And,
skewed because I keep him at 15 till they win one of these games.
oh, I do too. Like, we have people,
Yeah.
there's one person that votes them 1 or 2 every week. I don't understand it. But,
That person might need to be kicked off the boat.
well, so the problem with, like, no one has an issue with any single position on Penn State's roster outside of quarterback. Like, if you put Bo Perbula in there, I would probably have them in my top 3.
Yeah,
If
fair.
you put almost any other coach in college football in there, even with Drew Aller, probably still have them top 10.
Yeah.
The problem is you have a quarterback who statistically kind of sucks. And you have a coach who statistically kind of sucks. And the rest of your team is one of the best in the country. It's not going to do anything. They're not special. Offensively,
Yeah.
it's like that we're watching a team from the 80s. They have 2 running backs. That's it. They don't have Tyler Warren. If they can't run the ball, they can't do anything. you know, even though that I really do believe in Oregon with Dante Moore and Dan Lanning and Will Stein, and Dan Lanning's going to have that defense playing well. This really is much more about how little I believe in James Franklin and Drew Aller. Oregon wins this game outright. I don't care if it's a whiteout. I don't care if it's at night. It truly does not matter because Drew Aller still is who he is.
Yeah. Yeah, James Franklin too is who he is. He's got to show me something before I pick him in a game like this, and it's as simple as that. I talked earlier about fool's gold with Texas A&M. Drew Aller is the definition of fool's gold. Make no mistake, neither of these teams has played anybody worth a damn so far. Let's be honest, but Penn State especially has been hiding behind that just bad opponents. You already mentioned it. It's in Happy Valley. It's a whiteout. Penn State had a bye week that Oregon didn't have, which worked out so well for everybody who had that in the playoff, by the way. I just think Penn State doesn't have it. And I think Oregon's going to expose that. So, yeah, I like Oregon to win. I like Oregon to cover. And I like this game, maybe not to get super out of hand, but I like a 3-score game here.
I'll be honest. I think if it gets past 7 points in the second half, there's no reason to continue to watch this game.
Yes.
Like Penn State just can't score points. If they
Yeah.
can't do it against Nevada and FIU and Villanova, if they can't do it at will against those teams, what makes anyone believe they're going to do it against Oregon?
Right.
So Mike said Dan Lanning complained last week about Northwestern's fake pumped-in crowd noise. Everyone had the same joke. Wait till they play in Happy Valley. When Oregon is disrespected, they treat pretty much every opponent like Josh Heupel treats crappy Group of Five teams. Fact.
Yeah.
He said, like you guys, I need to see Penn State actually do something against elite competition before I pick them. Drew Aller's only talent is that he's tall and has the measurables that dumb franchises like Indy will fall in love with. Give him Oregon straight up. Um, Problem is, Indy now has a franchise quarterback.
That's true.
Who would have thought Danny
Yeah.
Dimes
Who would
with
have thunk it?
talent in an offensive line is a good quarterback?
Yeah. Apparently the Giants didn't,
Yeah.
but they also never put the talent around him.
All right. Last game we're talking about tonight, and we are rushing a little bit. I'll be honest, it's because the internet has already kind of crapped out on us once.
Yeah.
But last game, Alabama at Georgia. Georgia 3-point home favorites, over under 52.5. And we're doing the order a little bit differently this time because we
He
all know
wants to make sure we close this one on a high note. And
Yep, I can't have Caleb's negativity be what we end the show on. So go for it, Caleb.
yeah, I will go first. Give me just a second.
Oh, are you chugging? Oh, I thought you were about
Okay.
to down the whole thing.
No, no. I wanted to make it look like that, but I ain't doing that right now.
That's so
Look,
much
I I have been saying, as you know, if you've been listening, you know as well, all off season and last week and this past Sunday that I was going to pick Alabama in this game. There is some kind of voodoo magic in the air with Georgia and Alabama always wins. That's essentially been my reasoning all off season and up until now. But then the conversation about black jerseys came up, and I've been telling everybody since that conversation started that curses and voodoo and black magic aren't real. So, what kind of man would I be if I made my pick in this game based on voodoo, black magic, and all that nonsense? So, I went to the tape and I saw how these teams were playing and just said, if I'm going to pick Alabama, I'm going to do it based on the facts in front of me. So, guys, Alabama didn't lose to Florida State because Florida State was a better team than Alabama. Alabama lost to Florida State because they were soft. And based on the way they've been talking, I don't think they're soft anymore. And based on what Georgia's secondary did against Tennessee, I think Alabama's softness was the only hope we had in this game, and now it's gone. That's what I was going to say. But then I learned that Alabama took 4 days off of practice entirely during their bye week.
Wait, are
And
you
I
serious?
watched as yes, 4
Meanwhile,
days off during the bye week.
people were taking videos of Kirby Smart losing it from
Yeah.
the parking deck a half a mile away because they could hear him on the loudspeakers.
Yeah, they were sitting in their dorm rooms eating donuts while that was happening.
Oof.
Uh, and then I watched as their overweight offensive linemen, probably from too much of these donuts, consistently were getting wrecked against Wisconsin. And it made me realize this team is still soft. Maybe their level of competition helped them pretend they weren't as soft as they seemed week one, but they sure showed their hand not practicing during the bye week. This Alabama team is soft, and Georgia's going to take advantage of that. Yes, they get Jam Miller back. I don't think he's going to be able to do much behind these offensive linemen. I really don't. People are talking about a couple of them going to the NFL, but it is so easy to cross their face because they're so unathletic. Ty Simpson is really good, and obviously we have questions about the secondary after Tennessee, but if you really think Kirby Smart isn't going to have a lot of that fixed or at least massively improved by the time we kick off on Saturday, I don't know who you've been talking to because this is just who Kirby Smart is. New Alabama head coach Yankee Magoo has been abysmal on the road so far. And even if Alabama punches us in the mouth, goes up a couple of scores, I just watched Gunnar Stockton and this offense 2 weeks ago come back in a super hostile environment with a turnstile on the right side of the offensive line. That task is only going to get easier at home with hopefully a little more stability over there. So I've changed my pick. I am taking Georgia straight up. I am taking Georgia to cover. I just, again, it's all getting in your head and mind games and voodoo and black magic and all that. I just think when you line up 11 on 11, the best 11 wins. And I truly feel like Georgia's got the best 11.
All right. So Mike's notes. He said, "We heard Jim yesterday talk about the Alabama of old playing joyless murder ball. That's not Alabama today. Nick Saban ain't walking through that door. Georgia was a ton of Carson interceptions and a mix-up on Ryan Williams away from beating them after being down 28-0 last year, and I can't see that happening this year. This Georgia team has more balls than they did this time last year. They have a
Yeah,
quarterback that's not going to
facts.
turtle under pressure and pout. This is the fucking year that we rid ourselves of the shame of the last two home games against Bama as well as the previous two losses. We're taking out years of frustration on Alabama. Dogs by at least two possessions."
Oh, calling a shot. I love it. Love it.
Yeah. So we did get a calling the dogs. This is from Josh, who, if you're in the Athens area, he is one of the Classic City Wrestling announcers for all their local stuff. So he did a voicemail for us on Monday, and we're going to play that as a pre-Bama calling the dogs.
Monday night. We are 6 days away from the University of Georgia versus the University of Alabama right here in Athens, Georgia. This is college football. This is the biggest matchup of the year. I don't care what has happened before. This is it. The University of Georgia. We are coming off the biggest win of the season, eliminating Tennessee in their own home. I want to call Knoxville, Tennessee, Kirbyville. That is what's going to happen. But what we have coming up next is the matchup. This is the one we all have wanted. Last year, the Alabama Crimson Tide, they bested the University of Georgia. Regular season matchup, the University of Georgia went on to win the SEC championship. And this year, I tell you what, this year feels special for Georgia. This year feels like this is the one. This year feels like the one where Georgia puts Alabama in the ground. Dogs win. That's all. Dogs by 50. Ho, ho, ho.
we want to thank Josh for calling in and sending that for us. We did ask for that one. Like I said, he does the announcing for Classic City Wrestling, and we wanted something different and special for this week. So I hate this. I do. I,
To be clear, the talking about this game, not Josh's voicemail.
Correct. I don't want to pick this game. I never do. I I spent this week. I wrote an entire article about how this time is different, and then we talked to Jim, and I have a hard time believing the research I did, and the words I wrote, and all of the above. But I know that Alabama is the most undisciplined they've been in the decade of the 2020s, averaging 7.5 penalties per game against power competition. I know that their run game has been bad, 123.67 yards per game on the ground bad. I know that they allowed 230 rushing yards against Florida State. I know that Kalen DeBoer is 2-4 in true road games as the head coach of Alabama. I know all these things. I know that Georgia has not lost a home game since South Carolina in 2019 and has not lost a night game at home since Kentucky in 2009. All of these are facts that I am well aware of. I also know that
both of those games, actually.
I was at the South Carolina game. I also know that Kirby Smart is 1-6 against Alabama and 0-1 against Kalen DeBoer. I also know that the last time Alabama came into Athens, the game got so bad they put my wife on TV because it looked like she was crying because it was raining so hard. Georgia is one of the least penalized teams in the country at 3 penalties per game. Georgia has the best rushing offense that we have seen in Athens since 2018, averaging 209 yards per game. Gunnar Stockton is being blitzed at an insane rate of 43% of his pass attempts and is still averaging 10.6 yards per attempt and completing 89% of those passes while being blitzed. If they try to come after him, he will take their lunch money.
Mm-hmm.
There's just something different about this Georgia team.
Hitting there.
And I get it. There has, for whatever reason, been something about those Walmart brand uniforms that Alabama wears. Like, for whatever reason, they get into Georgia coaches and players' heads. But this Alabama team is not more talented than this Georgia team. This Alabama team is not more physical, better coached, better equipped, better prepared. None of it. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
So Georgia, and they weren't last year either. Georgia played scared in the first half of that game. Tentative offensively, defensively, and it doesn't help when your quarterback throws 3 interceptions in the first half. That is just a fact. But Gunnar Stockton made his first start in the Sugar Bowl against a top 3 defense. He was not scared. He wasn't great. Just full transparency. But he wasn't scared. Yeah. He went into Neyland in his first true road start and was truly willing to die on the field to make a play. Some of the 89% of his completions that we talked about a second ago.
He was horizontal when he made the throw.
Right. He was getting speared like Edge was coming across the ring from back in the day. Yeah. So Gunnar Stockton coming home to the field that he grew up dreaming about playing on. He dreamed about this game, night game in Athens against Alabama, because Gunnar Stockton's young enough. Alabama was already a dynasty by the time you remember football.
Yeah, Gunnar Stockton was probably 5 or 6 years old. I don't know exactly how old he is when we wore black in 2008, and it was probably his first heartbreak.
Yeah. He's not going to play scared or timid or anything except for absolutely elite juggernaut willing to die on that field if that's what it takes. And so here's the thing. I know that myself and 93,000 of y'all, we're going to lose our voices come hell or high water on Saturday night.
Y'all better.
Will this team to a win, whether they deserve it or not? Because let's be honest, they've already won a game this year they didn't deserve.
On this note, before you move on, if Alabama gets up a couple of scores early, y'all better not sit here and go, oh, well, here we go again. This is just how it goes, and suck the life out of that stadium. Y'all know better after that Tennessee game than to do that. Y'all better keep it up.
I can't say that I won't say those words, but I'm always going to be loud. I was loud against Marshall. Like I
Yeah.
just, yeah. So when it comes to this game, this defense is going to beat the hell out of Ty Simpson. I know
Mm-hmm.
that Alabama is going to have 1 to 2 tight ends on every single play. Also, probably have Jam Miller. I don't think it matters. When you have 350-pound offensive linemen that can't do anything,
We can't
and you
move.
have guys like Jordan Hall, Christian Miller, Elijah Griffin coming up the middle of that defense, I don't care about your tight ends. I don't care about Jam Miller. I don't.
Chris Cole's going to put Caden Proctor on his back at least once in this football game.
Yeah, see, you told me C.J. Allen can't take Jam Miller.
Yeah.
I, you're insane. They're gonna make Jam Miller wish that he was still hurt. They're gonna make him wish that there was still a dark spot on his collarbone in that X-ray, because they're going to embarrass every single person in the Southeast that's missing teeth, because those people are going to be mistaken for Alabama fans.
Because most of them are.
And none of them, no one, they're all going to be concerned that people think they're Alabama fans after this Saturday. There's going to be a tide of tears coming out of Athens, Georgia, colored crimson by their blood of the football team, all the way back to all those single wides they're going home to.
Yeah. When they go cry home to their cousins.
Actually, it's their wives. I,
I thought that was
I,
the same thing.
it is. I just there's no way. And you know what? Cold take exposed. Sure, I don't care. There's no way Georgia loses this game at home.
Ooh.
I I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if they're wearing red, pink, black, white, purple. I don't. I don't care about the LED wristbands. I don't care if it rains a little. I don't care if it's windy. I don't care if all the other excuses that some of these weak fan bases love to use. Shout out Tennessee. Is the
Tennessee.
grass a quarter inch too tall? I don't care. There's no excuse to go out onto your home field and lose this football game against a soft, poorly coached, not physical Alabama team. There's not.
Who's less talented too.
Yeah, there's no reason. I will be calling for heads
Yeah.
come Sunday if
One
they
in
lose this game.
particular, if they lose this game. We've
Yeah.
all said a certain job hinges on this game. I
No,
don't care
well,
how much he cooked against Tennessee.
they they can lose this game by scoring a lot of points.
Well, that's true too. Yeah, if it's another Tennessee that we end up on the losing side of, maybe it's not him.
Yeah, there's already a coach in particular that I'm use a bleep button on the audio edit.
Yeah.
All right. So last thing we're talking about tonight, best bets, and I've got a little bit of a six pack this week. Uh,
Okay. 6-pack challenge. Here we go.
yeah, so I got Arkansas Notre Dame over 63.5. Both of these teams just score points all the time.
I like that
Arkansas
one.
allowed over 250 rushing yards to a single player last week at Memphis, and Jeremiah Love is coming into town. Not a recipe for stopping Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next one, I've got Southern California USC at Illinois over 61. I'm back on my USC over bet every week. I've done it
Fair.
for years.
Based on
USC,
how Illinois performed last week, USC might hit it on their own.
right, but also USC has a better defense, still not a good defense.
Mm-hmm.
They gave up, it was either 30 or 35 points to Michigan State last week,
Yeah.
and they scored 42 of their own. So I mean, I think the over under last week was 57, and it ended up being almost 80 points. This one, Illinois defense obviously not good. USC offense still good. I'm taking the over on it.
Yeah. Fair.
I've got an alternate line of Indiana minus 6.5 at Iowa. One, I still am full of Iowa slander. Indiana, we just saw what they did last week. It's an alternate line. I think the real one's 9.5. I don't like that
Hmm.
because Iowa does actually have a quarterback that can throw the ball and run the ball this year. So alternate line minus 154 on that one. One game we've already talked about a little bit. Auburn at A&M over 53. I just man, A&M's giving up a ton of points. Auburn's able to get points. Auburn's able to give up points. I really like that, especially with Marcel Reed's mobility going against an Auburn defense that only has a pass rush. Like their secondary struggling quite a bit. Tennessee at Mississippi State under 63. I think that is that's the second highest line of any power conference game this weekend, behind Arkansas and Notre Dame. So that's an insanely high line. I think that Mississippi State has a better secondary than Georgia this year, as shown by how well that they've played throughout the season. And the Cowbells, I think, are going to mess with Joey Aguilar, who has not really played in a lot of high pressure environments with his career in JUCO, App State, and then only having home games at Tennessee so far. Principal bet of the season: Western Kentucky minus 4.5 at Missouri State. They haven't let me down yet. I'm rolling with it. And then I will say, if you want to do a little overzealous parlay, emphasis on the over, with just the overs that I have this week, it's plus 600 odds. And
That
I'm
that might be something to do, just to see what you could throw on there.
right, and I'm really confident in those first two. Auburn at A&M, I like it a lot just because it's a lower one.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. I honestly don't hate any of those.
Oh damn,
So
I'm going over this week if you like them.
yeah. So here's stuff that you should probably fade this week. Except for this first one, because this first one has been very good to me most of the season up until last week. I'm taking the Baylor team total this week over 40 and a half because they're playing against Todd Grantham and Oklahoma State. I know Mike Gundy is gone, but Todd Grantham is very
Who's
much
the
still there.
interim head coach at Oklahoma State?
It was, somebody was
I'll
talking
look it
about
up.
this earlier that I was listening to. It's not Grantham, it was somebody else. Which Todd Grantham's Wikipedia picture, by the way, has got him at Georgia, which is very funny.
That is funny.
Um,
I'm getting the interim coach pulled up.
cool.
Uh,
In, in the meantime, in 1 out of 3, oh my gosh, I can't believe this team isn't favored bets. I'm taking TCU plus 2.5 at Arizona State. Um, why is TCU not the favorite in this game as good as they've been playing this year? I don't know. Houston minus 10.5 at Oregon State. Oregon State has been bad,
they have.
and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon. Part 2 of my how is this team not favored? Syracuse plus 4.5 against Duke. I think Fran Brown is very slowly turning this team around from the way they ended up playing week 1 and week 2, running drills after the game. Those days are long gone from the looks of things there. So I like Syracuse, and yeah, give me the points with that against my biggest disappointment in life this season. And then I've got a bet in Tennessee at Mississippi State as well. I agree that Joey Aguilar is probably going to struggle a little bit in that environment. I don't know that he struggles to the point of Tennessee winning by less than a touchdown in this game. I just think that they have a really big advantage talent-wise over Mississippi State, and eventually that's just going to play out. And I'm taking Oregon plus 3.5 at Penn State. You're telling me James Franklin never wins these games, and you're giving me points with Oregon? Yeah, I'm going to take that. So because I picked it, Penn State's finally going to get a win against one of these teams. Good job.
Dang it. All right, so Mike, he put some in this week. He's got Vandy minus 23.5 versus Utah State. Vandy did hit 70 points last week, and they're going to be 5-0 before October comes around. Wild
Great.
that South Carolina and Florida have more losses than Vanderbilt this season.
Alabama has more losses than Vanderbilt this season.
We need to
Which
clip that.
they're next, by the way, for Alabama.
It is in Tuscaloosa, though.
Okay,
That is that is a
that is a
fairly important
factor.
distinction.
That's true. That's true.
Mike has Arkansas plus 4.5 versus Notre Dame. This is the exact type of game that Arkansas wins under Sam Pittman. Nobody thinks they have a chance, and they're coming off a heartbreaking loss. That was my exact reasoning for Arkansas covering last week in the article I wrote, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
So that's tough. Um, Washington plus 7.5 versus Ohio State. Washington has the second longest home winning streak in the country behind Georgia. Not sure if they'll win, but it is very difficult for teams to come into Seattle and win, let alone cover. I meant to put that one in mind. I'm not going
Yeah, I
to add
looked at
it
this one
now,
too. Yeah.
just because the home winning streak is definitely a factor in that game, and Ohio
Yeah.
State has not been impressive. Um, Northwestern minus 6.5 versus UCLA. Both teams are awful, but UCLA might be historically bad. They don't have a coach. Nico's at quarterback, and they're playing a game in Metropolitan Chicago on a lacrosse field. There's no juice. Northwestern might win 9-0.
Yeah, I almost added UCLA's opponents to my principal bets.
Wouldn't be a bad pick.
Yeah.
And then Mike's got Kansas minus 4.5 versus Cincinnati. Last time I checked, Cincinnati hasn't seceded from Ohio to join Kentucky, so they're clearly cowards. They can't play in Lawrence, Kansas. KU covers. It is wild how Cincinnati's airport is in Kentucky.
Yeah, that's weird to me. And most people that I have talked to who have lived or worked rather more accurately in Cincinnati lived on the Kentucky side and drove there because nobody wants to live in Ohio.
Correct. Also, like property tax and
Yeah,
income
well, yeah,
taxes.
that too.
Yeah. That's going to do it for this episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. If you haven't already, follow us on social media at nothing.finer.pod on Instagram, at finerpod on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Just look us up. You will find us there. Clearly, we are dedicated to getting y'all some content out because I am still sitting in a McDonald's parking lot. So, y'all share the show with your friends, with your enemies, play it on your grandma's phone, have her wondering why her phone dies all the time. Like, whatever, just help us out. But most importantly, always remember there is nothing finer in the land
And a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan screaming in Ty Simpson's face, y'all do it.